The call to adventure. Grayson Hawkes stood on the bridge of his starship, the celestial nomad, staring into the vast expanse of space. At 62 years old, his life had been a series of incredible adventures across the galaxy. His hands, weathered yet strong, rested lightly on the controls, his silver hair catching the light of distant stars. As he gazed into the endless sea of twinkling lights, he felt a bittersweet mix of nostalgia and anticipation. The thrill of exploration had given way to a deep-seated weariness, and he longed for a quieter life, away from the chaos of space. A cozy homestead on a serene moon called Verdant Vista was in his sights, a place where he could tend a garden and watch the sun rise and set. Lost in thought, Grayson almost missed the blinking light on his console. It was a distress signal, a rare occurrence in these uncharted regions. Intrigued yet wary, he leaned closer to examine the coordinates. The signal was emanating from a small, oddly shaped island not far off his current course. Instinctively, his spacer's heart surged with a familiar sense of duty. He had spent his life exploring strange worlds and interacting with diverse races, but the ethical dilemmas had often weighed heavily on him. In that moment, he decided he could not ignore a cry for help, no matter how close he was to his dream. With a resigned sigh, he altered the ship's course, setting a new trajectory toward the mysterious island. As the celestial nomad approached, Grayson's unease grew. The island had an unnatural symmetrical shape, and his scanners were picking up energy readings that suggested advanced technology, odd for an uninhabited area. Something felt wrong, but his conscience urged him onward. He docked a ship in a small bay, surrounded by sleek vessels that looked like they belonged to the ultra-wealthy elite of the galaxy. As he stepped off the celestial nomad, he felt a chill run down his spine. The silence was palpable, broken only by the faint hum of his ship's engines powering down. Grayson kept his hand on the plasma pistol at his hip, his instincts honed from decades of experience, screaming at him to be cautious. The corridors inside the docking bay were lavishly decorated but eerily empty, adorned with plush carpets and exquisite art pieces. Yet there was a distinct sense of emptiness, a feeling that something dark lay beneath the surface. As he wandered deeper into the station, a muffled sound caught his attention. It was faint, but unmistakably the sound of crying. Grayson's heart raced as he approached a set of ornate double doors, pushing them open to reveal a grand hall. What he saw inside turned his stomach. Dozens of young women, clearly not human, were huddled together in the center of the room. Their faces were marked by fear and despair, their beauty overshadowed by the shackles binding them. Some had shimmering skin, others glowing eyes, and a few even bore wings. But it was the sight of two particular girls that captured his heart, sisters with flowing silver hair and amber eyes, their skin radiating a soft, ethereal blue glow. Grayson's chest tightened with a mix of compassion and anger as he realized the truth. This was no ordinary space station, it was a slave trading post. As he gripped his pistol tighter, a door burst open, and a group of armed men entered, led by a brutish figure with green skin and a menacing cybernetic eye. The slaver sneered at Grayson, oozing disdain. Well, well, an old man lost in the wrong part of space. This is a private establishment and you're trespassing. I'm no trespasser, Grayson replied firmly, his voice steady. I picked up a distress signal. It seems the only ones in distress here are these girls you'd have chained up like animals. The slaver laughed, a harsh, mocking sound. Distress signal? Must have been a glitch. These girls are just waiting for their new owners. It's all perfectly legal. Legal. Grayson's voice hardened. Slavery is illegal in every civilized corner of the galaxy. What you're doing here is monstrous. The slaver's cybernetic eye glinted maliciously. What's monstrous is letting such prime specimens go to waste. So here's the deal. Pay up if you want to sample the merchandise, or get out. Grayson's mind raced. He was outnumbered and outgunned, but he couldn't walk away. His gaze shifted back to the sisters, their eyes pleading with him for help. In that moment, he knew he had to act. It was reckless, impulsive, but it felt like the only choice he could live with. Slowly, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small data chip containing the access codes to his retirement fund, every credit he had saved over a lifetime of hard work. "I'll take them," he declared, his voice steady. "All of them. I'm buying their freedom." The slaver's eyes widened, disbelief etched across his face. "All of them? Are you crazy? Do you have any idea how much that would cost?" "I have enough," Grayson replied, determination surging within him. "And I'm willing to pay whatever it takes to get these girls out of here and into safety." The slaver hesitated, then shrugged with a greedy grin. "Your funeral, old man. No refunds, no returns." He pocketed the chip, and within moments, the shackles on the girls were being unlocked. Grayson watched as they huddled together, their eyes wide with fear and confusion. He held out his hands in a gesture of peace. "It's all right," he said gently. "You're safe now. I'm here to help." As the girls stepped forward, Grayson felt a surge of purpose. They were traumatized, broken, and he had no experience caring for them, but he was determined to do right by them. This was a chance to give them a better life, a chance he had to take. Once aboard the Celestial Nomad, the cramped ship buzzed with an energy he hadn't felt in years. Grayson sat at the helm, plotting a course to the safest, most secluded location he could think of, a small uncharted planet on the fringes of the Orion Nebula. As he glanced back at the girls, their expressions a mix of confusion and hope, he realized that his life had irrevocably changed. He had traded his quiet retirement for something much more meaningful. He would protect them. The engines rolled to life, and as the ship launched into the stars, Grayson felt a strange, exhilarating sense of destiny. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but for the first time in years, he felt hope. He was ready for this new adventure, a journey of healing and rebirth. With each passing moment, the weight of his decision began to settle. He was now responsible for these girls, their safety and well-being resting on his shoulders. He had given up everything for them, and as they soared through the galaxy, he vowed to create a safe haven, a home where they could heal and thrive. The vastness of space felt less lonely, the stars shimmering with possibilities, and Grayson felt a spark of excitement for the unknown journey that lay ahead. A new home among the stars. The Celestial Nomad sliced through the darkness of space, its engines humming with a steady rhythm that comforted Grayson. As the ship sped toward the uncharted planet, the atmosphere inside felt charged with anticipation. Grayson glanced back at the girls huddled in the small cabin, their eyes wide with a mix of fear and curiosity. Each one was a reminder of the lives he had just saved, and he felt the weight of his promise to protect them settle heavily on his shoulders. Grayson piloted the ship with steady hands, his mind racing with thoughts about what lay ahead. He had always been a man of action, making decisions on the fly and relying on his instincts. But this was different. This was a new life he was trying to build, not just for himself, but for these girls who had been through unimaginable trauma. He needed a plan, something concrete to help them settle in, heal, and find a semblance of normalcy again. As they approached the planet, Grayson initiated the ship's scanners, eager to gather information. The planet was lush and green, with vast forests and sparkling blue lakes. But what caught his eye was a large clearing near a crystal-clear lake, an ideal spot to land. He adjusted their descent, feeling a surge of hope. This place felt untouched by the chaos of the galaxy, a sanctuary waiting to be discovered. The ship touched down gently, the engines quieting to a soft hum. Grayson turned to the girls, who were now looking out the viewport, their faces illuminated by the soft light of the alien sun. "Welcome to your new home," he said, trying to inject some warmth into his voice. "This is where we'll start over together." The girls exchanged nervous glances but stepped closer to the viewport, captivated by the beauty outside. Grayson's heart swelled with a mix of pride and apprehension. He had always been a lone wolf, but now he was a guardian, and he wanted nothing more than to see them smile. After powering down the ship, Grayson led the girls out onto the soft, warm grass. The air was fragrant with the scent of blooming flowers, and a gentle breeze rustled through the leaves of nearby trees. As they stepped onto the planet's surface, the girls' expressions shifted from fear to wonder. Grayson watched as they took tentative steps, exploring the new world around them. One of the sisters, Tinara, turned to Grayson with a cautious smile. "It's beautiful," she whispered, her amber eyes shining with awe. "We never thought we'd see something like this again." Grayson felt a surge of warmth at her words. This was why he had done it, to give them hope, a chance at a life free from fear. The other sister, Avera, clutched her sister's hand tightly, her gaze shifting nervously from the trees to the sky. "What do we do now?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Grayson knelt down to their level, ensuring they felt his presence as a protector. "First, we need to explore a bit and find a suitable place to set up camp. We'd also look for food and water. Then, we can talk about what comes next." The girls nodded, and together they ventured deeper into the clearing. Grayson led the way, scanning the area for any signs of danger. He felt a primal instinct kick in. The protector in him was now fully awakened. As they walked, he noticed the vibrant flora and fauna surrounding them. Strange plants with bioluminescent properties and small creatures flitting about, their colors vibrant against the greenery. The planet was alive, teeming with the kind of beauty that made him realize how much he had missed in his solitary life among the stars. After some time, they came across a small grove of fruit-bearing trees. Grayson reached up and plucked a few of the colorful fruits, which looked like a mix between a peach and a starfruit. "These should be safe to eat," he said, offering them to the girls. "Try one." Tinara took a hesitant bite, her eyes widening as the sweet juice burst in her mouth. Avera followed suit, and soon their initial reservations faded away, replaced by laughter and delight. Grayson smiled as he watched them enjoy the simple pleasure of eating fresh fruit, a sound he hadn't realized he had missed, the sound of joy. Once they had filled their bellies, Grayson led them to a sheltered area near the lake, where the trees provided a natural barrier against the elements. "This will be our home for now," he announced. "We can set up tents and make it cozy." The girls jumped into action, eager to help. Despite their past traumas, they displayed a resilience that Grayson admired deeply. As they worked together, Grayson found himself reflecting on his own life. He had spent years running from one adventure to another, always seeking the next thrill. But now, for the first time, he felt a sense of purpose that transcended personal ambition. He was building something meaningful, a refuge where these girls could heal and grow. After several hours of work, they had set up a small camp with makeshift tents fashioned from supplies Grayson had aboard the celestial nomad. As the sun began to set, casting a warm golden light over the clearing, they gathered around a small fire that Grayson had started with a few dry twigs and leaves. Sitting together, the girls looked more relaxed. Grayson felt a wave of relief wash over him as he realized they were beginning to feel safe. The fire crackled softly, and the stars began to twinkle above, painting the night sky with shimmering lights. It was a moment of tranquility, a brief respite from the chaos they had all known. Tinara broke the silence, her voice thoughtful. "What will we do now, Grayson? Can we really start over?" Grayson leaned back, looking up at the stars. "Of course we can. We'll build a life here. You'll have time to heal, to find out who you are outside of what's happened to you. And I'll be here with you every step of the way." Avera nodded slowly. "You're not like the others," she said quietly, her gaze searching Grayson's face. "You really care about us." Grayson felt a lump form in his throat. "I may be an old spacer, but I've seen enough to know what's right and wrong. What happened to you was wrong, and I won't let anyone hurt you again." A sense of camaraderie began to blossom among them, weaving a bond of trust and shared purpose. Grayson realized that they were not just survivors of a horrific past. They were a new family, united by their experiences and hopes for the future. As the fire crackled and the night deepened, they began to share stories. Grayson told them about his adventures as a young man, his stowaway days aboard a freighter, and the countless planets he had visited. In return, Tenara and Overa recounted tales from their home world, Lumina, a planet bathed in bioluminescent light, where the nights glowed with the soft hues of the flora and fauna. They spoke of their parents, the life they had before it was shattered by raiders. Grayson listened intently, feeling a mixture of sorrow and admiration. The resilience these girls displayed was nothing short of remarkable. They were strong, and in their strength he found inspiration. They were not just victims, they were survivors with stories waiting to be written anew. As the hours passed, Grayson felt a sense of warmth and connection enveloping them. The fear that had once haunted the girls began to ebb away, replaced by the laughter and stories that echoed into the night. This was the life he had dreamed of, a life filled with purpose, love, and hope. When the fire finally dwindled to embers, Grayson looked around at the girls, who were now drowsy and content. "Let's get some rest," he said gently. "Tomorrow, we'll explore more of this beautiful planet and start planning our future." As the girls settled into their makeshift tents, Grayson took a moment to step away from the campfire. He walked a short distance, gazing up at the vastness of the cosmos. The stars twinkled like diamonds against the black velvet of space, each one a reminder of the adventures that awaited them. For the first time in years, he felt a profound sense of belonging. This new life was not just about survival, it was about healing, hope, and the promise of new beginnings. Grayson knew there would be challenges ahead, but he was ready to face them, not alone, but with his newfound family by his side. As he lay down under the starlit sky, he closed his eyes with a smile, embracing the warmth of the night and the possibilities that lay ahead. Together, they would forge a new destiny among the stars. Trials of the heart. The dawn broke gently over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold as Grayson awoke to the sound of birds chirping and the soft rustle of leaves. He stretched, feeling the warmth of the sun on his face, and took a moment to gather his thoughts. Today marked the beginning of a new chapter not only for him, but also for the girls he had saved. They were finally free, but the road ahead was filled with uncertainties. As he emerged from his tent, he was greeted by the sight of Tinara and Avera sitting by the lake, their delicate features illuminated by the morning sun. The water sparkled like 1,000 diamonds, and the girls seemed to be entranced by its beauty. Grayson approached them, a smile spreading across his face. "Good morning. How did you sleep?" "Good," Tinara replied, her voice soft yet cheerful. "This place is magical." Avera nodded in agreement, her eyes wide with wonder. "It feels different here, like we can breathe again." Grayson's heart swelled at their words. They were beginning to find their footing in this new world, and he felt a deep sense of responsibility to nurture that newfound freedom. "I'm glad to hear that. Today, we'll explore more of this planet and look for resources. We need to gather food, water, and materials to build a more permanent shelter." The girls sprang to their feet, excitement evident in their expressions. "Can we go to the lake?" Overa asked eagerly. Grayson chuckled. "Absolutely. Let's start our day by seeing what we can find nearby." As they walked along the shoreline, the tranquility of the environment washed over them. The sounds of nature, birds singing, leaves rustling in the wind, created a soothing symphony that made the worries of their past seem distant. Grayson observed the girls closely, noting how they laughed and splashed in the shallow water, their spirits lifted in this idyllic setting. Tenora suddenly stopped, her gaze fixed on a cluster of shimmering plants at the edge of the lake. "What are those?" she asked, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. Grayson approached the plants, intrigued. They resembled a mix of lilies and coral, their petals glowing softly under the sun. "I'm not sure," he replied, kneeling to examine them, "but they look edible." He carefully plucked a few blossoms, the petals soft against his fingers, and handed them to the girls. "Let's see if they taste as good as they look." With hesitant bites, the girls sampled the strange flora. To their delight, the petals were sweet, bursting the flavor that reminded Grayson of honey. "This is amazing," Tinara exclaimed, a smile lighting up her face. I could get used to this. Grayson couldn't help but smile back. This small victory felt monumental, a step toward reclaiming joy in their lives. After gathering more of the plants, Grayson suggested they explore deeper into the forest. The three of them ventured away from the lake, walking along a narrow trail flanked by towering trees. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting dappled patterns on the forest floor. Grayson felt a sense of peace enveloping him, a feeling he hadn't experienced in ages. As they walked, Grayson encouraged the girls to share more about their home on Lumina. They spoke of their family, their culture, and the beauty of their planet, painting vivid pictures in Grayson's mind. He listened intently, realizing how much he needed to understand their background, their hopes, and their fears. On Lumina, the nights are filled with colors, Avera said, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. The plants glow in the dark, and the skies dance with lights from our twin moons. It sounds enchanting, Grayson replied, captivated by her description. I've never seen anything like it. We miss it, Tinara admitted, her voice softening. But being here, with you, feels hopeful. We can start anew. Grayson felt a lump in his throat at her words. It was a bittersweet reminder of what they had lost, but also a testament to their resilience. You can always carry the memories of Lumina with you, he said gently. And together, we can create new memories here. As they ventured deeper into the woods, Grayson taught the girls some survival skills: how to identify edible plants, how to set traps for small game, and how to collect water safely. He felt a sense of pride as he watched them absorb the information, their eyes shining with determination. They were not just learning to survive, they were reclaiming their lives. Later, as the sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, they returned to their camp, tired yet fulfilled. Grayson lit a fire, and they settled around it, the warmth wrapping around them like a comforting blanket. As they shared a simple meal of the edible blossoms and roasted roots, Grayson felt a shift in the atmosphere. The girls were starting to laugh freely, their laughter mingling with the crackle of the fire. It was a sound that filled him with hope, a promise that healing was possible. Grayson, Tinara said suddenly, her expression serious. What will happen to us? What if the slavers come looking for us? Grayson met her gaze, feeling the weight of her question. I won't let that happen. We'll make this place our home, and I'll do everything in my power to keep you safe. You have my word. Avera nodded, her eyes searching his. But how? We don't have weapons, and they could come at any time. Grayson took a deep breath, realizing the urgency of the situation. You're right. We need to be prepared. Tomorrow, we'll scout the area for resources, including any materials that could help us build defenses. We'll find a way to protect ourselves, and we'll learn how to fight if we need to. The girls nodded, determination igniting in their eyes. Grayson felt a surge of pride at their resilience. They were not just victims, they were fighters, ready to reclaim their lives. As the night wore on, they spoke about their hopes for the future, what it would look like, what they wanted to accomplish. Grayson shared his dream of building a community where they could all thrive, a sanctuary for those seeking refuge. The more they spoke, the more Grayson felt a connection grow between them, a bond forged through shared struggles and aspirations. Finally, as the fire began to dim, Grayson suggested they call it a night. We had a long day, and tomorrow will bring new challenges. We need our rest. As they settled into their tents, Grayson took a moment to reflect on the day. He had not only saved the girls from a life of servitude, but had also opened up a new world of possibilities for all of them. The journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, but together, they would face whatever came their way. Under the canopy of stars, Grayson lay in his tent, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. He was no longer just an old spacer-seeking adventurer. He was a guardian, a mentor, and perhaps even a father figure to these girls. The bond they were forming was unlike anything he had ever experienced before. As sleep began to envelop him, Grayson felt a flicker of hope, a sense that this was the beginning of something beautiful. Together, they would build a new life among the stars, one filled with love, laughter, and resilience. And no matter what obstacles lay ahead, they would face them together, united in their journey toward healing and discovery. Shadows of the past. The sun rose over the horizon, casting a warm golden light across the clearing where Grayson and the girls had made their camp. The air was fresh and crisp, filled with the sounds of chirping birds and the rustling of leaves, a stark contrast to the dark memories they had escaped. Grayson awoke feeling a renewed sense of purpose, eager to tackle the day ahead. Today, they would fortify their new home and explore the surrounding areas for resources that could ensure their safety and comfort. As Grayson stepped out of his tent, he found Tinara and Evera already awake, seated near the fire they had rekindled. The smell of roasting roots filled the air, and Grayson felt a warmth spread in his chest at the sight of them. "Good morning, ladies. I see you've started breakfast without me," he said playfully, making his way to the fire. "We didn't want to disturb you," Evera replied, offering him a bright smile. "Besides, we wanted to surprise you." Grayson chuckled, appreciating their enthusiasm. "Well, you've succeeded. This smells fantastic." He settled down beside them, grabbing a roasted root and taking a bite. The earthy flavor burst in his mouth, a reminder of the simple pleasures they were beginning to enjoy. "Today, we should focus on gathering more supplies and planning for defense," Grayson said, wiping his hands on his trousers. "We'll need to scout the area for any potential threats and see if we can find materials to build a more permanent shelter." Tinara nodded eagerly, her eyes shining with determination. "What should we look for?" "We'll need strong branches, some rocks for tools, and anything else we can use for protection," Grayson explained. "But remember, the most important thing is to stay vigilant. We don't know if anyone is still looking for us." As they finished their breakfast, Grayson laid out a plan for the day. They would split into pairs to cover more ground, exploring different sections of the forest while keeping each other in sight. He would team up with Evera, while Tinara would search a little farther along the lake's edge. They all agreed to whistle if they found anything useful or sensed danger. "Let's meet back here in a few hours," Grayson suggested, feeling a surge of excitement. "Remember, stay close and don't take any unnecessary risks." As they set out, Grayson felt a mix of hope and anxiety. This was a new life they were building, and while he was determined to protect the girls, the reality of their situation still weighed heavily on him. They were free, but the shadows of their past loomed large. Evera walked beside him, her pace quickening as she took in the beauty around them. "It's so different here. I never imagined a place like this could exist," she said, her voice filled with wonder. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" Grayson replied, glancing around at the towering trees and vibrant flowers. "But we need to stay focused. Freedom comes with responsibilities." They ventured deeper into the woods, and as they walked, Grayson pointed out various plants and their uses. He showed her how to identify edible roots and the best trees for building materials. Evera listened intently, her brow furrowing in concentration as she took mental notes. "Do you think we'll ever go back?" she asked suddenly, her voice small. Grayson paused, considering her question. "I don't know," he admitted. "Going back could be dangerous. We can't forget what happened to you and the others. But you'll always have the memories of your home, and together we can create a new one here." Evera nodded, though the sadness in her eyes was palpable. Grayson felt a pang of empathy. He knew the pain of leaving everything behind. It was a burden he wanted to help lift, but he also understood that healing would take time. They continued their exploration, finding a cluster of sturdy trees that would make excellent support beams for a more permanent shelter. Grayson carefully marked the area in his mind, while Evera gathered small branches and fallen leaves to help with insulation. As they worked, he noticed her growing more confident, her initial apprehension giving way to a sense of purpose. "Do you think Tinara is okay?" Evera asked suddenly, glancing back in the direction they had come from. Grayson paused, sensing the concern in her voice. "She'll be fine. Tinara is strong, and she knows how to take care of herself. Besides, were not far from the camp. As they moved deeper into the forest, Grayson felt a sudden chill in the air. It was a subtle shift, but it made the hair on the back of his neck stand up. He motioned for Avera to be quiet, and they both listened intently. The sounds of the forest seemed to fade, leaving an eerie silence that filled the air. "What is it?" Avera whispered, her eyes wide. "I'm not sure," Grayson replied, scanning the trees around them. "But we need to be careful." Just then, a rustle came from a nearby bush. Grayson instinctively reached for his plasma pistol, the familiar weight grounding him. "Stay behind me," he said softly, stepping forward cautiously. The rustling grew louder, and Grayson's heart raced. He had seen his fair share of dangerous creatures in the galaxy, but he was not about to let anything threaten Avera. Suddenly, a small creature burst from the bushes, darting across their path. Grayson relaxed, realizing it was just a small, furry animal. Avera let out a nervous laugh. "I thought it was something dangerous." Grayson chuckled as well, though his heart was still racing. Better safe than sorry. We need to keep our wits about us. They continued their search, and eventually, they found a small clearing filled with rocks and fallen branches. Grayson knelt down to inspect the area. "This is perfect. We can use these rocks to build a fire pit and these branches for our shelter." As they gathered materials, Avera's demeanor shifted again. "Grayson," she began, hesitating slightly. "What if we're never safe? What if they find us?" Grayson looked up, meeting her gaze. He could see the fear in her eyes, the haunting memories of their captivity still fresh in her mind. "We'll do everything we can to stay safe," he reassured her. "And I won't let anything happen to you. We're a team now." Her eyes softened, and for a moment, Grayson could see the flicker of hope returning to her spirit. They worked side by side, gathering rocks and branches, and with each passing moment, he felt their bonds strengthen. After a few hours, they had collected enough materials to start building their shelter. As they made their way back to the camp, Grayson felt a surge of pride. They were no longer just survivors. They were thriving, creating a life together, one step at a time. When they returned, they found Tinara waiting by the fire, her expression brightening at their arrival. "Did you find anything?" she asked, bouncing on her feet. "Yes, we found some great trees for building, and we gathered rocks for a fire pit," Grayson replied, feeling a sense of camaraderie growing between them. "How about you? How was your scouting?" Tinara smiled, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "I found some more edible plants and a small stream nearby. We have plenty of food and fresh water." Grayson felt a wave of relief wash over him. "That's fantastic. With your find and the materials we gathered, we can really start making this place feel like home." As they began preparing for their evening meal, Grayson reflected on the journey they had embarked on together. There would be challenges ahead, but with each passing day, they were forging a path to healing and hope. That night, as they sat around the fire, sharing stories and laughter, Grayson couldn't shake the feeling that they were becoming a family. They were bound by shared experiences, not just as individuals with scars, but as a united front against the darkness of their pasts. After dinner, Tinara asked, "What's the first thing we should do when we build our shelter?" Grayson pondered for a moment. "We should create a common area where we can gather and share stories. It will be our heart, a place for laughter, healing, and planning." Avera chimed in, "We could decorate it with flowers and lights from the forest." Grayson chuckled at her enthusiasm. "That sounds perfect. A place filled with life and color will remind us of hope, especially on tough days." As the night wore on, they shared dreams of what their new life could be, envisioning a future that felt both distant and tangible. Grayson listened, feeling a sense of fulfillment he had never experienced before. This was not just about survival. It was about living fully, with purpose and passion. As the fire crackled softly and the stars twinkled above, Grayson felt the weight of the world lift from his shoulders. Together, they would face whatever came their way, united in their strength and resolve. This was only the beginning of their journey, and with each passing day, They were writing a story of resilience, hope, and the power of family, one that would echo through the stars. Foundations of Hope. The dawn of a new day broke with soft rays of sunlight filtering through the leaves, casting a warm glow on the makeshift camp. Grayson woke early, invigorated by the thought of the day ahead. Today marked the beginning of a new project, building a proper shelter that would serve as a haven for him and the girls. With a renewed sense of purpose, he stepped out of his tent and took a deep breath of the crisp morning air, filling his lungs with the sense of earth and dew. As he approached the fire pit, he found Tinara and Ivera already awake, sharing the last of their roasted roots from the previous night. "Good morning, girls. Ready to get to work?" Grayson asked, his excitement palpable. "Absolutely," Tinara replied, her eyes sparkling. "We've been talking about how to design the shelter. We want it to be cozy and welcoming." Grayson felt a warmth spread in his chest at their enthusiasm. "That's the spirit. Let's gather our materials and start building a place we can all call home." After a quick breakfast, they set to work. Grayson explained the importance of choosing the right location, one that was elevated enough to avoid flooding but also sheltered from harsh winds. They decided to build their shelter on a slight rise, overlooking the beautiful lake that had become a source of solace for them. The view was breathtaking, and Grayson could already imagine the laughter and stories that would fill this space. They began by collecting strong branches from the surrounding trees, testing their strength and flexibility. Grayson showed the girls how to create a framework for the shelter, teaching them to interlock the branches to form a sturdy base. "Remember," he said, demonstrating the technique, "a solid foundation is key. It's what will keep us safe when the storms come." As they worked, Ivera asked questions, her curiosity insatiable. "What if we made the roof slanted? That way, the rain will slide off instead of pooling on top." Grayson smiled at her ingenuity. "Exactly. You're thinking like a true builder. Let's do that." They set about creating a slanted roof using larger branches, lashing them together with strips of vine they had found nearby. Grayson marveled at how quickly the girls picked up the skills he taught them. They were fast learners, their hands working diligently alongside his. "Do you think we should add a fireplace inside?" Tinara suggested, wiping sweat from her brow. "It would keep us warm and help with cooking." "Great idea," Grayson replied. "We can use stones to make a fire pit in the center of the shelter. That way, we'll have a safe space to cook and gather around when the nights get cold." With renewed energy, they gathered rocks and arranged them in a circle to form the fire pit, ensuring it was sturdy and safe. As they worked, the sound of their laughter and chatter echoed through the clearing, blending with a natural symphony of chirping birds and rustling leaves. After several hours of hard work, they finally finished the basic structure of the shelter. Standing back to admire their handiwork, Grayson felt a swell of pride. The shelter was not just a physical structure, it was a symbol of their resilience and determination to create a new life together. "Now we need to make it cozy," Ivera exclaimed, her eyes bright with excitement. "Exactly," Grayson agreed. "Let's collect leaves and soft grasses to make beds, and we can gather more flowers to decorate the inside." As they ventured out to gather soft materials for bedding, Grayson reflected on how much had changed since they had arrived on this planet. Each day was a testament to their growth and healing. He was no longer just a weary traveler seeking peace. He was a leader and a caretaker, and in many ways, the girls had become his family. They spent the afternoon collecting colorful flowers, lush grasses, and leaves, weaving them together to create makeshift beds inside the shelter. With each flower they added, the space transformed into a vibrant sanctuary. Grayson watched as Tinara and Ivera worked with joy, their laughter filling the air like music. It was a sound he had missed, a reminder that even in the darkest times, joy could still find its way into their lives. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow across the landscape, they lit a small fire in the pit, its flames dancing and crackling. Grayson settled down with the girls, their tired but satisfied expressions reflecting the fruits of their labor. "Look at what we've built," he said, gesturing around the cozy interior. "This is a place of safety, a home where we can heal and grow. We did this together." Tinara beamed at him. "It's beautiful. I feel like we can really make a life here." Avera nodded, her expression thoughtful. "And we'll always remember how we built it, together." Grayson felt a rush of warmth at their words. This was more than just a shelter. It was a testament to their resilience and the bond they were forming. As night fell, they gathered around the fire, sharing stories of their pasts, of Lumina, and the life they had left behind. Grayson listened intently, absorbing their stories, understanding that while they were all survivors of a horrific experience, they were also dreamers, each with aspirations and hopes for the future. "What do you dream of, Grayson?" Avera asked, her eyes sparkling in the firelight. Grayson paused, taken aback by the question. "I dream of peace, a life free from the chaos of the galaxy. I've spent too many years running, too many years chasing adventure without truly experiencing it." Tinara leaned forward, intrigued. "But now you have us. What do you want for us?" Grayson smiled, his heart swelling with affection for the girls. "I want you to be happy. I want you to feel safe, to heal from your past, and to discover the beauty of life again. I want us to build a community, a family, right here." They sat in silence for a moment, letting the weight of his words settle. The fire crackled softly, and the stars twinkled above, a reminder of the vast universe that lay beyond their little haven. "Can we plant a garden?" Avera asked suddenly, her eyes lighting up with excitement. "We could grow our own food." Grayson's heart raced at the idea. "That's a fantastic thought. We could cultivate the land around here, create a space where we can all work together and share in the bounty." The girls clapped their hands in delight, the sound ringing out into the night. Their laughter was a balm to Grayson's soul, a reminder that they were moving forward, not just existing but truly living. As they settled down for the night, Grayson couldn't help but feel a sense of hope wash over him. They were not just building a shelter, they were creating a life filled with love, laughter, and resilience. Together, they were transforming their pasts into a future rich with possibilities, and for the first time in a long time, Grayson felt a deep sense of belonging. With the warmth of the fire beside them and the stars shining above, Grayson drifted off to sleep, dreaming of gardens, laughter, and the promise of a new dawn. They had faced the darkness together, and now, with each passing day, they were stepping into the light. The journey was far from over, but they were ready to embrace whatever challenges lay ahead, united as one.